Welcome back. You're watching our special report along the fault line. Now, normally any disaster gets attention only after a strike. Though crores of rupees are put into planning and strategies, but how much of it is really an integral part of our development planning? Our reporter Ranshu gives you a complete lowdown on this.
Natural calamities in Kangra, Shillong, Mandi and now Nepal. The National Disaster Management is having its hands full fighting multiple hazards, which have imposed a need to strengthen its programs. The government has put 17 vulnerable states under watch, while the National Disaster Response Force itself is adding 2 more battalions for deployment.
Main crux lies at the district level. So that is where we are impressing upon the states that every district in the country should have a very responsive district disaster management plan, and they should carry out their own mock drills and rehearsals to ensure that the community is made aware and they are able to respond to a kind of situation. So that is where our focus is going to be. I am happy to say that the government has sanctioned raising of 2 more NDRF battalions. As of now, we got 10, so we're going to have 12 NDRF battalions.
When it comes to preparedness and mitigation of risk, experts feel India still lags far behind other nations.
In terms of prevention and long-term mitigation, I think we are still lagging way behind. And that's where countries like Japan that you mentioned have learned from earlier earthquakes. The 1964 earthquake in Tokyo was a huge lesson that helped them look at construction technologies, that helped them look at the techno-legal regime and be very strict about its implementation.
India's geographical size and huge population are the biggest challenge to manage disaster risk. According to the report of the Overseas Development Institute, India would have the greatest exposure to extreme weather and natural disasters by 2030. The report highlights lack of seismically secure infrastructure and buildings in the northeastern region.
As far as the vulnerability for earthquake is concerned, so there are various bylaws, there are certain regulations which are there to ensure that these buildings are earthquake resistant, resilient, and the construction agencies have to follow those instructions.
The government has budgeted around $5 million to fight disasters from 2010 to 2015. But despite the resources, disasters get attention only after they strike. Planning and preparing strategies to tackle them in an effective manner needs to be an integral part of our development planning. Anshu Jaising for Rajya Sabha TV.
So it's very clear that India needs still to learn a lot as far as earthquake preparedness is concerned. Let's now take a look at the building safety aspect in India. Structural engineer and real estate developers assert that high-rise buildings constructed in India can withstand earthquakes that are expected to hit that particular seismic zone. India has been divided into 5 seismic zones. However, its national capital, Delhi, falls into category 4, that is the second highest level in terms of vulnerability to earthquakes. Though high-rise may withstand the quakes, but experts caution that sizable parts of our cities are extremely vulnerable due to unauthorized and unregulated construction.
April 25th, 2015, a 7.9 magnitude earthquake devastates large parts of Himalayan neighbor Nepal, killing thousands, reducing hundreds of buildings to rubble. The cracks on these modern high-rises reveal the vulnerability of modern structures to nature's fury. It also raises fears on the safety of high-rise buildings in India as the country has embarked on a massive urbanization drive in the last 10 years. Developers assure people about the safety of these tall buildings, but a word of caution for buyers as well.
It is necessary to see that the building's plans are approved or the completion certificate is issued further he wants to ensure whether the buildings are earthquake resistant or not, he can ask the particular certificate or the structure drawings from their developers.
High-rise towers have come to dot almost all major Indian cities and even smaller towns. On Saturday and Sunday, though, a sense of fear raged among residents of these buildings as they were jolted by the big earthquake and then the aftershocks. Developers emphasize on training and awareness drives to avoid damage and injury.
जब अर्थक्वेक होता है तो उस दौरान हमको क्या करना चाहिए या क्या नहीं करना चाहिए, ये डेफिनेटली एक बहुत बड़ा एक एजुकेशन का सवाल है कि लोगों को उस बारे में जानकारी होनी चाहिए. तो अभी चूंकि ये नेपाल के अंदर एक बड़ा हादसा हुआ है, तो इस तरह के हादसे से कैसे लोगों को मतलब अवेयर कराया जाए, हम लोग उसके लिए एक अपने कंसल्टेंट द्वारा और अपने जो हमारे पास जो उसकी जो इस स्ट्रक्चर के बारे में जो हमको राय देते हैं, हम उनके द्वारा एक मॉक ड्रिल तैयार करेंगे और अपने आरडब्ल्यू के माध्यम से और जो लोग वहां रहेंगे उनको इस बात के बारे में जानकारी दी जाएगी कि इस टाइम में किस तरह से बिल्डिंग से एवैक्यूएट किया जाए.
By design, these structures are earthquake resistant. This is also verified by the layout approving authority and may be vetted by the IITs. However, no government agency actually verifies whether norms are adhered to during the construction process. Developers frequently hand out construction contracts without sufficient checks.
It is kind of a grey area. In fact, there are PMC agencies, project management consultants. These agencies take care of the fact that whatever is specified in the drawing is followed on site. And most of the good developers employ PMC agencies these days. And the work of these PMC agencies is, whenever the project construction is going on, their team of engineers and other paraphernalia, they would be on the site 24/7 kind of, and they would make sure that the quality norms are adhered to.
Structural engineers assert that the biggest threat from a strong earthquake is not to modern skyscrapers as they follow sound designing principles. They say unauthorized construction faces the maximum risk.
There can be some norms created, simple norms, which can be given to the residents, all the people in every city, that these are the norms to be followed when they construct their own building. Because these buildings are normally a single story or at the most a 4-storied building. Wherever the stilt is being also done, that is another grey area, because the moment you go in for a stilt parking, the probability of earthquake failure increases.
There's no ruling out the prospect of a strong earthquake striking Delhi, as the Delhi NCR region falls in seismic zone 4, the second most vulnerable category. All the more so, only stringent compliance to sound designing principles and quality construction, coupled with training and awareness to the residents, can prevent loss of life and property. Krishnanand Tripathi's report for Rajya Sabha Television.
The recent earthquake in Nepal has awakened schools and hospitals in India to the need for emergency drills readiness in case of natural calamities. Many are in the process of implementing measures to be taken in case a disaster strikes. But are we really ready as far as our schools, hospitals and malls are concerned? Anshu takes you through this reality check.
With a rapidly increasing population and infrastructure, most parts of India are vulnerable to catastrophic disasters that could lead to major damage. Though regulations for schools and hospitals are in a constant state of improvement, many institutions are trying to set an example with efforts to create awareness among students and staff in case of an emergency like an earthquake.
It involves your search and rescue, it involves your first aid and it involves your fire safety. So they get trained in these three things mainly, where they are exposed to different modes and different methods of how to carry it out according to the international standards.
Duck, cover and hold, and then you go under your desk, because if anything falls down, the desk will protect you. And then when all the braking stops, you go outside and line up in the field.
While going down, we have to keep away from the railings, because railings fall first. So we have to stick to the walls. That's the protocol we follow, and our teachers guide us to the field. When we reach over there, there's a roll call, and we find out which people are missing. Then with adult supervision, we come into the building and check all the check all the classrooms again.
Every natural disaster like the Nepal earthquake teaches us new lessons, extending to evolution of structural designs, construction equipment and engineering innovations. Besides educational institutions, hospitals that deal with thousands of people on an everyday basis face the need for strong and effective architecture as well as designed evacuation programs.
We have our complete codes, various codes in place, and the standard operating procedures for them are in place. These codes are properly defined, and who is to play what role, right from the housekeeping to the nursing staff to the doctors, the security personnel, and who's going to be communicating with the outside world. Sometimes it happens to be police and the local administration authorities. So all this has been defined.
For the building to be structurally safe is very important. The other is about our own preparedness, so there is the standard international system of duck cover hold. So as soon there is some shaking, you need to follow that drill. So that is in terms of that awareness as human beings we should be following.
Evacuation responses of many such buildings have improved with the help of fire services and other local authorities. Simulation exercises and drills are conducted at regular intervals.
We do quarterly drills for all our tenants, our customers, our employees, everybody, and this is not just internally, but we do it as a complex with the external agencies. We do it with the fire people, we do it with the ambulance, we do it with the traffic cops, so we involve all of them, and we do once a quarter an evacuation drill.
Even though several agencies provide assistance, disaster management capacity, faster response depends largely on local community and people at large. It's also up to the management of such buildings to ensure all measures are taken well in time. Anshu Jaising for Rajya Sabha TV.
Though millions of homes have been displaced and thousands killed in the Nepal quake, but as after every tragedy, the survivors here as well have begun to pick up the threads of life to move on. And the task of rebuilding the nation through collaborative efforts is now the toughest challenge. Time for us to wrap the show. Our deepest condolences to the bereaved families, and we at Rajya Sabha TV extend our prayers to all in Nepal and other places who have been impacted by this disaster. Goodbye and thanks for watching.